2016 has been really a successful year for the Center for Cultural Preservation on many, many different fronts. We've held nearly 50 public programs in over a dozen counties in the state of North Carolina in this year. More than 24 of those were public presentations of the 1916 flood film. We completed our 4th documentary film, called Hell or High Water, remembering the Great Flood of 1916, and we began working on a new film about the roots of mountain music, which we hope to be out sometime in the middle of next year. 2 of our films that we made last year have created quite a buzz this year. The Land Still Speaks to Us, a film about farmers connecting to the land and keeping that cultural history alive, won some awards at the Longleaf Pine Film Festival in Raleigh this year. And Call of the Ancient Mariner, a film about sea turtles and human culture, made its PBS debut 2 weeks ago. It's in the Carolinas now, in South Carolina and North Carolina, and it'll be going on to several other PBS stations later in 2017. In the last couple of weeks, we've completed over 80 videoed oral histories in nearly a dozen counties in North Carolina. And these oral histories will be transcribed. We'll be looking for repositories in the counties where those people lived, and so that anyone who wants to research their life and their history can find those transcripts at genealogical centers. Like here, our repository is the Genealogical and History Center on 4th and Main. And other counties where those people live, people can pick up the transcripts, they can pick up the video, and they can see that and hopefully pass on that knowledge to other generations. Speaking of things passing on, this year we launched our first student oral history film contest. And although we didn't receive any finished films from the students, what we did hear back from a number of teachers is that they were able to get students involved in doing oral histories with elders in their family and in their community. And how much better is it to hear the history of this community from, quote unquote, the horse's mouth, rather than reading it in the textbook or having a boring lecture go on and on and on. And so that was really exciting to me to hear that students were able to get access to the living history of the community. Not from Googling it on some portable device, but from the people in their community or in their family who experienced the trials and tribulations and had lessons to teach. We've also hosted some of the greatest mountain heritage heroes of this generation this year, and many of them will be included in our upcoming documentary. They include David Holt, Josh Goforth, Joe Penland, and many others. And of course, the folks who will be performing tonight, we hope will also be in that film. Now, we didn't invite these people primarily to be a source of entertainment, although that's sort of icing on the cake. But when we have these programs like we are tonight, it's more than just a spectator sport. We do these kinds of programs primarily because we want to harken back to the time when music wasn't something that you watched on TV, you didn't go to a concert hall and watch. It was something that was played on the back porch or the front porch. It was part of the communal tradition of a community. Whether you knew how to sing, or you played the banjo or fiddle, or you just banged on some spoons, it was part of being part of something. And that is very quickly disappearing. And so when we talk, we love to bring in folks like Mark and like Darren who can tell those stories and can convey the history and the heritage and hopefully reaffirm our own connections to our own communities. And that brings me now to our present situation today. As successful as we've been on so many fronts, we've hit a really big brick wall when it comes to funding. Most people don't realize that there aren't very many grants in the state of North Carolina that fund cultural organizations, and the few that there are tend to fund the larger institutions. Ticket sales are helpful, but the lion's share of funds for organizations like ours comes from people who care. And as you probably know, because if you're on our email list, and unfortunately we probably sent you about 10,000 emails about this over the last couple of weeks, we've launched an end-of-the-year fundraising drive in the hopes of raising at least $25,000 by the end of January can stay in business through the first segment of 2017. Whether you appreciate what we do because we bring musicians, storytellers, and historians here to connect us with a heritage that's rapidly disappearing, or because you care that the memories of our nearest ancestors don't disappear in this lifetime, or you're inspired by the films and stories that you hear, I hope you'll take the time either tonight or the next few days to help. We hope that the work that we do can expand over the next few years to include many more oral histories, hundreds and hundreds of oral histories, bringing more of our work to the schools, and expanding and increasing the treasure chest of films that we do, and so much more. Supporting culture is more than some abstract concept to make us feel warm and fuzzy inside. It's about having something to believe in again. In a confusing and unstable world, it gives us grounding. The adopted son of the very town that we're in tonight, Carl Sandburg, said that if you look at civilizations that have disappeared, they have one thing in common. They forget where they came from. Preserving the cultural legacy of our mountains is about preserving where we've come from and getting a better sense of where we're going. It may not give us the instant gratification, although coming to a concert like this certainly helps, but it's more about building a foundation for the future. Thank you again for your support in advance. It's really up to you, and I know you will help pull us through.